Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Astronomicon, the Eternal Crusade show. And I'm coughing already. How professional. Once again, we have Miguel back, who is the studio head of Behaviour Online. And this is the third time on the show, I believe. Yeah, third
Yes.
time.
Hello, everybody. Nice to
Um,
see you again, Mike.
yeah, you too. And so the reason that Miguel is back is because obviously recently in the forums there was the discussion on multiple threads about side grades and monetization and founder store and everything in between. And then I made a video about it, and then Miguel said, "Can I come on the show and we'll have a chat about it?" So here we are once
It's
again.
actually the thing about Sidegrades has been there since the first time we mentioned it, and I think, Mike, it's going to stay there until players can actually test it for real inside betas and the game itself is going to launch. And even then, after, I think that's going to still haunt me a little bit because it's new, and there's a lot of different perception about it, and most likely about how will it be implemented, because
Yeah.
that's the most
So I
important
mean,
part.
in layman's terms, and for people who don't know, explain the concept of side
Okay.
grades.
So the concept of side grade is linked with our philosophy of no pay to win mechanic. I mean, Mike, life, the real life is pay to win, right? Unfortunately, society works pay to win. And this is something that players don't want to live inside the game, because when you play a video game, often, especially in MMO, especially in RPGs, to create an alternate ego and be who you want to be. And if you're skilled in the game and you invest a lot of money, then you can become super powerful and important in the game, even though you do not a CEO in your normal life. So pin to win mechanic is something that people are very educated, players are very educated, and they don't want this in most game. Certain game differs, but in most game they don't want this, especially in a skill-based game, which kind of defeat the purpose,
Yeah.
right? Because the skill-based game, the purpose is that the more you play, the more skilled you get, or just the genetic skills that you have playing video games, and it should never be linked to monetization, because then it removes the need for skills, so it kills it even more. And side grade is, well, it says upgrade, downgrade, side grade. It's quite clear. So often when I talk about balance in a video game, I talk about the chess board. And you know that every chess piece is actually as a weight in the mathematical or formula to define what is the weight of that piece and how much power that piece, or more chances to win that piece gave you. If you look on the Wikipedia, you'll see that the knight and the bishop have 3. Both of them have a weight of 3. The tower has a weight of 5. So the tower is more powerful than the knight and the bishop. But the knight and the bishop in a chessboard, they would be considered as side grades. So they don't act the same way, but they have the same mathematical chance of allowing you to win a game. Which means that if we play a game, you and I say, okay, this game, we have a new rule. You take out the bishop, I take out the knights. That means that we still have equal amount of chance to beat each other out. What will make the difference is our game style, how we will play it and how we'll adjust to your strategy afterwards. So side grade is basically that equivalent. It's having an equivalent of something that you can unlock for free in the game, but it's an equivalent, but it's not a perfect match. Things have been switched around in their stats. That makes the difference. One example I use sometimes that is more in-game, it would be like, because side grades could be for hero, for vehicle, for anything actually that is in the game. I can take you as an example as a sniper rifle that would give 100 damage every 60 seconds. But then the one you buy in the store, that is an equivalent, has different skin, obviously, looks different, but will have 50 damage every 30 seconds. So over a minute, both of them have exact same damage, but one you have twice 50, the other one a full 100 at the end of the 60-second cycle. I'm not saying that this weapon exists. I'm just giving you an example, okay? So if you and I, Mike, we play, and both of us have the weapon that we unlock in-game, and we meet a Dreadnought, or a Devastator. So we didn't announce Dreadnought in the game yet. So we meet a Devastator. our weapon is an advantage versus the one we could buy in the store, because you shoot him first, you remove his armor, and I shoot him second and I kill him. So 2 shots, he's dead. Okay, but then instead of meeting a Devastator, if we meet an Eldar, one that has the cloaking device that moves very, very quickly, then most likely in that situation, we would have been better to have the one that we buy in the store, because most likely we will miss one of our shots, right? So because he's moving too fast and he's cloaking himself and things like that. So I would better off with the weapon that has less damage but a faster cooldown. So this way I can damage more by the time that he gets melee with us, you know? But I will never be able to know this in advance. Because when I want to change my loadout, I need to die first, and then I respawn, then I run back to the battlefield, but things have changed then. So that's what it is in essence. A side grade is something that is equivalent in power, but not exactly the same.
Right, because I mean, myself included, and a lot of other people and the people who watch my show, they got concerned about the example that was given between the 2-seated attack bike and the Rhino. Now, the reason was for this, especially me personally, the reason I was concerned is the fact that I didn't, and I still don't, I don't see how you can compare, while you can say, you know, that I don't see how you can call it a side grade from 2 very different vehicles with very different functions. Now, to me, that isn't a side grade. To me, that saying there's a 2-seated attack bike on the Founder Store, and then but everyone else can spawn a Rhino in game. That isn't a side grade to me. To me, that is content behind a paywall.
Okay, I see what you mean.
I mean, if there was, to me, the way it would be a side grade is if there was a fast attack vehicle in game for free, and then the option was you can also buy the 2-seated fast attack vehicle, but they had different stats, obviously. That would be considered a side grade to me, but I didn't, and a lot of people didn't see how it was a side grade from the Rhino, because they were very different.
So you remember just before you started recording our interview, I was telling you that I'm not too keen and following global social agreement or thing like that, you know, and I tend to look at things outside the box. So, and I had a flash when I was listening to your video last week. I'm actually going to ask you a question, okay? What is our consumer promise, Mike? Our consumer promise in the game. I've said it many times, and now I think there's a drinking game on every Twitch because I say it so often, is be an elite soldier of the 41st millennium.
Yeah.
Okay? That's the consumer promise of the game. Now, put yourself in the shoes. You're a real captain, Space Marine, a real one. Okay? You're not a fake one. You're in the real universe. Okay? And you're being, I'm your chapter master, and I call you to the battlefield. Battlefield is about 15 minutes from the fortress, and I ask you to come with your squad to the battlefield. Okay? And you're captain. You have access to all the vehicle, all the weapon, and everything. You personally, how will you come in real life? How would you come to the battlefield? I would come in a Rhino. I wouldn't come with an attack bike.
But it would depend, though. I mean, especially
because I'd be protected. I'd be protected. I have more guns. I have more weapon. I will use a Rhino. In a real military situation, I would never use an attack bike to go there because obviously you have no armor, you have no protection. You're a little bit faster, but you have less shooting power than a Rhino. So getting faster to the meeting point where I call you doesn't really give you an advantage, an edge to allow you to win the war. It's you just get there a little bit faster. We're talking about less than a minute faster versus a Rhino in 90% of the cases, you know, and often you'll have to go in a very rough terrain. So actually a Rhino would be even better. So Rhino is the intelligent things to do, you know. An attack bike makes you look a lot cooler going there. So people that will use an attack bike, a 2-seater attack bike to get to a location, they're doing it for the style, not for the military objective. They're doing for how good they look doing this. It would be a real pay-to-win mechanic if the attack back was twice as fast as a Rhino, or 3 times as fast, or even more. But even if you look at the tabletop rules, the attack bike can go twice the distance, I think, if I remember correct, in a Rhino. But one cannot shoot, the other one can shoot. I don't remember what it is, but I remember that actually it's still the way it's been implemented in the tabletop. It's kind of a side grade in a sense that depending on what you want to do, sometimes it's better to use the Rhino to do your move. Other times it's better to use the other one.
Which I can accept, and I think many players can accept that you can have the 2 vehicles and they can be balanced. In terms of game mechanics and in terms of their stats, they can be balanced and they can be fair.
But we'll have bikes. We'll have bikes in the games as well that you can unlock for free. They just won't be that 2-seater bikes with, I think it's
and I think,
but I
think that was the issue that was raised, is the fact that because the comparison was between 2 very different vehicles, is that people then said, well, does that mean then that there is not going to be a form of an attack bike or a fast attack vehicle in the game, and you either pay for the content, or you have to have the Rhino. That's the end of it.
Everything that we will sell in a store will have an equivalent or a mix of stuff that gives it an equivalent in game. And the thing that people really have, it's 2 new concepts. So Sidegrades is a new concept, and the fact that we're trying to teach people with times. We have a year and a half, 2 years still to do it. That this balancing thing is done on an army level. So if I'm a strike force commander, I will have in my strike force people that will not monetize and people that will monetize. And myself, I'll monetize as well. I won't monetize. And it's how you use all these pieces together that will make your strike force win the war. It's I have a 2-seater attack bike because I monetize, because I like to have it, but I'm a squad commander, and then we need to get very, very fast to this location. The captain didn't monetize the 2-seater bike. He calls upon me, he needs it, and then I can spawn it and use it. It's the whole mechanic. I'm trying to bring it to the level where it's the squad, it's a strike force that is balanced against another squad, another strike force, and not the individual per se. Because once the game launch, this 2-seater attack bikes is only for funders. It will not come when the game will launch. No one else for the next 10 years will be able to get exactly that bike. But they'll get other stuff very similar, but not perfectly exact.
Yeah, and I think that was the biggest concern, is the fact that, with the interview, it was quoted saying that while you did say that specific bike wouldn't be available to everyone else, what it came across as to most people is that you were saying the bike, bikes in general won't be available unless you buy them, and this is why people kind of backtracked and went, well, then that's no longer a side grade, that becomes locked content.
I see. Okay, it's the 2-seater attack. This 2-seater attack bike, that but attack bike, 2-seater attack bike, there's not again, if you look at our consumer premise, be an elite soldier of the 41st millennium, that consumer premise, it's not every army that has a huge amount of 2-seater attack bike. It's certain squad, some chapters have access to like the White Scars have more bikes than the other. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's the chapter that uses a lot of the bikes, the White Scar. So it depends on the chapter, but the founders will have these, but there'll be other, either a single player bike, or, and I'm saying the bike for the Space Marine, but it'd be the what's the name for the Eldar? The Viper hovering thingy for the Eldars and things like that. So the golden rules that we're committed as a team is that if any player can say, Miguel, I'm a founder, because of this item, I beat everybody else, or I beat, I have 50% more chance to beat everybody else with that feature or that items or that thing, then we will change the mechanic of it to make sure it doesn't happen. Because what we want is a player that has been playing the game 2 years, has monetized $10,000 buying stuff, in his first match with a noob that just got in the game, but happens to be way more agile and skillful with his mouse and keyboard or with the gamepad, I want that noob to be able to kill the other guy. So that's the philosophy, you know, behind it. So it's not that we won't have any other bike or any other fast-moving vehicle. Is that at this point in time, with what we've announced, if we were to do a playtest tomorrow, I can guarantee you that people that use a Rhino to get to the battlefield versus people that use a two-seated attack bike to get to the battlefield, none of them, either or, has more. Actually, the Rhino people have more chances to not get killed than the two-seater attack bike.
Because I mean, I think that's what people are worried about. People at the end of the day, especially people who aren't founders, and people even who are founders but don't want to monetize a lot. They are worried about having content locked off in some form. And it wasn't, and I think that was the big issue. Was that it appeared that it would end up being the two-seater attack bike is the only attack bike, and that will be on the store, and you either buy that or you have a Rhino, and that's the end of it. And I think people, especially with especially ex-players of PlanetSide 2, they're very wary of, on top of Eternal Crusade having to get gameplay, balancing, community, everything right. You've got monetization as well, and monetization can be ultimately a downfall.
I agree with you 100%. You can again reassure everybody watching you, for $40, you can play the game for 10 years without ever monetizing again, and you'll have the exact same game experience as someone that's monetized $5,000. The only difference that you'll have, you look less cool than the other guy. That's the only difference. And in terms of gameplay element, we're gonna add every month. Some of it will be for the founders, some will be open to everybody as well. But the part where I'll do a lot of monetization when we're ready to do it, and you'll see, we see in French, when you put butter on a piece of bread, that you put a lot of thick butter on top of it. You know what I mean? That the part where I'm gonna put a lot of butter on the bread, meaning that I'm gonna monetize a lot of it, is thing that is gonna be very, very clear. That first of all, it's to monetize. It's for us to make money so we can add more feature to the game, or we can keep the game alive for a long, long time, because then the game becomes profitable. But it's gonna be things like in your strike cruiser, as an example, your personal quarters, your strategarium, your sensorium, or your ship, the decoration inside your ship. I'm going to monetize a lot of stuff. So if you want to have a praying altar as a chaos or thing like that, because and has no gameplay element besides a immersive one. And when you bring your friend to visit your ship, your ship looks fantastic. Execution. Once we get closer to the game, we're going to have hundreds of different execution to buy. Again, doing an execution has gameplay element to it, but the type of execution has nothing to do with it. It's just different level of insult that you want to give to your opponent, basically. So we're going to monetize a lot. So anything that is really, really aesthetic, and you'll see one of the thing that we'll do in the website that's going to clear up a lot of the misconception or questions. Actually, we're going to categorize the items in the Rogue Trader store as aesthetic only, side grades, vehicles, consumable. We'll categorize them very, very clearly. This way, people will know clearly what they're buying. And until the Rogue Trader store is not spick and span, that's a French expression, meaning that it's perfect, that your fans, our fans, your readers, everybody says, okay, pricing is good, structure is good, we understand it clearly, the flow of purchase is good, then the Rogue Trader store will become a real store with a checkout, Until then, players are playing with most of it our money, because what they bought with $40 was the game key. The $40 a Rogue Trader point is a bonus we gave to them, which people will not get in 2 years when they'll buy the game. I allow them to switch and remove and replace items and things like that.
Yeah.
That was the main reason why we did it this way. It's because we knew that we wouldn't get it right the first time. And that's the other reason why we did it during the summer, to get all these feedback. So right now we've addressed the feedback that we got from the founder stores first, because this is the one that really impacts people, because it's real cash and there's a checkout. And in the next weeks, month, we're going to address the Rogue Trader store as well, where we're addressing it right now internally. It's just that you haven't seen the end result yet.
Yeah.
But once it's perfect, and then I'll make sure that I ask the community if it's perfect, and then we'll turn it into a real store.
I mean, speaking of the Founders Store and pricing, one thing that I didn't like, and I know a few people didn't mind, but the heresy items, which are now the relic items, the pricing of the relic items originally, and still is about $35, which is about £20 in the UK pounds.
You said 35, right?
Yeah, $35.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought that was a bit pricey for a relic item. And I know some people agree with me, some people disagree with me, some people have, disposable income.
But we agree with you, by the way.
Good.
We agree with you.
Because the simple reason that I didn't like it was because of, I thought that the value of the actual item that you would be receiving versus the value of the game, in terms of how much you pay to get into the game, I thought it was the wrong way, and I thought it should have been a lot lower. Because I've seen similar things with, like, for example, Star Wars: The Old Republic. One of the reasons that I left that MMO specifically was because of the way that they monetized the game and the pricing of the monetization of the game, because you were almost paying for a second game for some items, and I'm not going to pay $35, $30 for something that I could buy another video game with that.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%, Mike. It's one of the reasons why even our first draft of the monetization, we had no items above $40, because there's no way we're going to send an item that is worth more than a game key, right? So everything was priced below $40, but still one relic item. You know why, by the way, that we changed the nomenclature from heresy to relic?
No.
Do you know? No? I mean, it's in the newsletter. It's said in lore perspective, meaning that Space Marine actually never talks about the heresy time.
Right, yeah.
Because they're not very proud of that time.
Yeah.
But the real world reason, it's because Games Workshop just announced a new pre-heresy. It's Horus Heresy video game made by a studio here in Canada called Complex Game, which, by the way, is a very great studio. I trust Noah, the GM of that studio, and it's just not to have any conflicting ideas. Right. So that's why we were asked to change from heresy to anything that is not means the same thing, but not the name heresy. That's why we had to switch the nomenclature. But that's the reason why we gave a second item for that price, plus we give a founder's gift to all the founders. So then now we basically reduce by half the price of $35, because now we're putting two items for the price, $35. And on top of that, we decided to even beef up our offering to all founders by giving two more gifts to all founders.
So, would it be fair to say that obviously the next set of relic items are going to be priced a lot differently than the ones are now?
Now, I ask you to be tough with me, right?
Yeah.
Are you gonna ask me why did I not just reduce the price simply and put both separately?
I assume it. I assume.
Do you think it's a marketing scheme that I did that?
No, I assumed it was because it would be unfair to the people who already bought the items for the full price.
No, it's not even. I didn't even go there. It's a technical thingy, because when you get that package, the problem that I have is the Rogue Trader, because the Rogue Trader, the way the tech works behind the Rogue Trader is in order to be able to equip a weapon, you have an inventory of Rogue Trader point. So when you buy a relic item, you buy it, but theoretically, if you just buy it and you have it in your Rogue Trader, you'd still have to pay to equip it in Rogue Trader points. So these relic item comes with their own points, Rogue Trader points that you're allowed to apply it afterwards, right?
Right.
Now, if the people that bought the old one, the system doesn't allow me to reduce the amount of point, because what happened, they would have a search, depending on the build that they build themselves, they would have either a discrepancy in points, they will have not enough point, and they'll have some item they need to unequip, or they would have too many points, depending on what they did. So for this item, to do the script to reverse the amount of point in everybody's account and things like that was way too complex.
Right.
So we had to package them, and the new one that we give for free, it's actually marked as a gift. So it has no Rogue Trader point, and it's equipped without costing any points. And the bolter, the relic bolter, it's still at 35,000 points, and it comes with its own 35,000 points.
Yeah.
Right. So, but once this is going to be over end of September, the next piece, the items that we'll put, we're not going to put them in as a bundle. We'll put them separately, and one will be both separately will be less than $35, obviously.
Right. I mean,
right. So it's just for this item, I couldn't reverse engineering the whole shaboom, you know.
I mean, what was the reason?
I mean, it's not that I couldn't. I could, but it would have cost me money for no real reasons, you know. And I'm sure the founders are happy having two items anyway, so they had already spent the money. So,
I mean, what was the reason behind going back to Sidegrades? What was the reason behind deciding not to go just full cosmetic and deciding to tinker with the statistics of the items as well?
Yeah, this is actually, this is funny because most people would think it comes from the marketing part of the team, which is kind of me, but it actually came from the designer, but not for the same reason. It came from the designer, and the designer were uncomfortable in having all the items only be aesthetic, because they were under the impression that it was not bringing enough value to the player by just putting aesthetic. So what the designer wanted to create is the same complexity and scratch your head about what to use in your loadout, the same way as when you play a tabletop game against somebody else. Because when you play it, we know in the tabletop, armies are not balanced, right? They're one of the saying I was told from the moment I joined this project, where I started this project, and not joined, but started it, was Games Workshop is unfair, but unfair equally in terms of their codex and their armies, you know. And it's the same type of meta game of having to try to use educated guess in building your loadout before you get to the battlefield, having many different tools to say, okay, what do I feel like it's going to be the most advantageous in this battle, and having a lot of the things that are similar but not exactly the same. So that was the thinking they had behind them bringing Sidegrades to the game.
Because I mean, the worry I have with it is that when you start tinkering with stats, especially with things like weapons and armor, you run the risk of ultimately unbalancing the game and ultimately creating weapons and armor that's overpowered and unfair and gives an unfair advantage. I mean, one example that I saw on the forums, and it's just a general example, but it's like the two sniper rifles, one that has a higher rate of fire but a shorter distance, and another sniper rifle that has a slower rate of fire but a longer distance, and that would create an unfair advantage to the longer distance person, because the other sniper rifle would have to get a lot closer before he even got to have a shot. And it's a very extreme example, but it's something that I think a lot of players are concerned about, because when you start messing with stats and things like that, you're kind of walking a tightrope that you could fall off.
I agree 100%, and we are not the one that will decide this. You and the player will decide this, because that's something we bring in, and that's part of the culture. Like I've seen such an evolution of the culture and the knowledge of the community, our community, Eternal Crusade community, has towards our game. And they're getting it now. They're getting that we're listening to them. They're getting it that their feedback counts. So they're not, your game is shit anymore. They're like, fix this, Miguel. This one won't work. But at least they're telling me what to fix, not just this game is shit, because they understood that we take this seriously and we take their feedback seriously. Now I'm asking them to go to the next level, to not freak out. We're bringing suggestion, which throughout the beta test and the early game module access, they'll be able to test these type of side grades and mechanic. All of them will be tested, and they will be able to tell us. They'll tell us if it gives them an unfair advantage. They'll tell us if this is overpowered versus this one is underpowered. We will test all these things, but they have to trust. So far, I mean, honestly, there's not a lot of promise we've made so far that we haven't met. Most of the time, we're under promise, over deliver so far in the project. So we promise them that there will be no pay to win mechanic. We'll promise them, and I'll promise them as well that I'm not going to use cheesy marketing scheme. When I want to monetize the hell out of something, I'm going to say, hey, by the way, I want to monetize the same way that I'm like, okay, allow me to present to you our Razor co-marketing partner. I put product in product placement, but I say it the moment I do it. I'm not doing it cheesy or like hypocrite, but I'm telling them the reason why we have co-marketing partners, because they bring us value, and the more we talk about them, the more they bring me new players. The more they bring new players, the more money I have to put back in the game. That gives more feature for you guys. It's a vicious circle. So I'm going to be as transparent as we were from the beginning. Side grades is not a way to add crazy monetization to the game. That's not the tool I'm going to use to add crazy monetization. The tool I'm going to use to add crazy monetization is going to be on your personal space, on your execution, on things like that. This is what I'm going to monetize like there's no tomorrow, because it's a choice of, they never can be upset with us of putting decoration for sale for their own spaceship, right? The side grade was really a way to bring a meta game of saying, okay, what do I need to bring on that battlefield? What is the best? I tried this, but this in this situation didn't work well. Well, I'll try this now in this situation. Maybe if it ever will. And that's the key, that's the key. If it's not educated guess anymore, if it's a certainty, then that means we did our job wrong in the implementation of it. So that's my commitment. That's our commitment to you guys, that we will not have pay to win mechanic, and a player that has monetized $10,000 and been playing the game for 2 years can still get killed on his first, let's say, duel with a new player that just joined in the game. That's the objective, One of the things that where was it? Oh, you guys haven't seen that video yet. It's a video that might be released. It's an in-game video that I showed a few journalists during Gamescom, and it was from playtest without script, just out of the lock like this. And I saw Devastator having kind of a duel for a moment with an assault, with a jump pack. And of course, the Devastator with heavy bolter, it kills you in a second and a half, 2 seconds max if you stay in front of him. But the guy with the jump pack was playing with the Devastator, because the guy with the jump pack, I think, was the intern that kicked my butt the last 2 Switch. I forgot his name, but he's very, very good playing that. So he was just going around and jumping around Devastator. By the time Devastator was turning, he couldn't even place a shot on the guy with the jump pack. When you look at the stats of both, you'd say the Devastator will eat 10 assault for breakfast, But the skill that the assault has, actually, in the last Switch, Brand told you that we find that the assault, even though his armor and all his weapons are underpowered compared to all the other one, the jump pack allows him to be so agile that honestly, we do a survey internally each time we do a playtest. We do twice a week, and the last survey, 93% of the people thought that the SO was too powerful right now with the jump pack. So we need to find a different way because it was too agile. But you look at the spec of both character, and you're like, there's no way, Assault is better. But because we're a skill-based game, and it's all about your ability to wage war, the Assault, the movement that he can make, he can hit, go away, hit, go away, hit, go away. He's like Korax, hit, retreat, attack, retreat, attack, retreat, attack, retreat. It gives him an unfair advantage. So that's all these type of detail that we need to look at. And we're not even talking about Sidegrades. We're talking to balanced classes now, So because we are a skill-based game and because we're PvP-centric, it's very, very important. We cannot have pay-to-win, and we have to have classes, even if they're not symmetrical, that they're balanced in terms of power. What you get with Assault with agility and what you get with weapon power and armor in Devastator seems to be in sync in terms of balance, but it's not. So that's just to give you an example. Even when we're not even talking about monetization, we're just talking about gameplay. But we'll be as is it lenient? No, not lenient. Discipline. We'll be as disciplined in balancing the different classes without any talking about the monetization as we will be for Sidegrades as well. That's our commitment to you. So what I would like the community to do, it's instead of saying how they disagree with it, to actually help us balancing it versus disagreeing it with it. Yeah. So because we need to test it first. And it's not the Sidegrade that is the issue. It's going to be how we're going to implement the Sidegrade. That most likely will be the issue at the beginning, but throughout beta tests, then it probably will be fixed, hopefully. If it's not, then we'll have to change it. But that's the reason why we have founders. It's to help us build the game and make sure that once we're ready to launch, it's on target to what their expectation is.
Cool. Well, hopefully that's cleared up some issues for people. As I say, I mean, I
cannot clear the issue, Mike, though, because I haven't really answered how. It's the implementation I suppose that will clear the issue.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things that we could talk all day. We just have to see in the beta how it gets put in. But
I don't even know the attack back yet is speed compared to a Rhino. I know it's faster, but I'm not sure. Maybe the designer have done the math yet. I'm not even sure they've done the math. If the designer come back to me and say, Miguel, the two-seater attack back will get to the target that is, let's say, 10 minutes away from your fortress, will get to the target in 5 minutes in an attack back and in 15 minutes with a Rhino. Then I'd say, whoa, this is pay to win. Okay, this clearly is pay to win because the difference is 3-1 is too much. That really gives you an unfair advantage. But if they say, Miguel, the attack back will arrive 20 seconds before the Rhino or 30 seconds before the Rhino, this is different. So it's really when we start implementing these. I mean, I don't even think the attack back 3D model has been done yet. So I mean, we have 1 month of 2 months now of production done. So we're just starting. But what I want the fan is to make sure that they make sure that what I say is true. Once we have beta tests and early game module access, I want our community to test that what I'm saying is true. And if it's not true, what I'm saying, then they need to tell us back so we can adjust it.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for coming on again, once again.
Actually, I want one thing that you can tell me, Mike, one more thing. If the implementation is the way I said it's going to be, do they appreciate the fact that we're trying to create a meta game with the complexity of the Sidegrades, assuming that the Sidegrades are balanced and don't create pay-to-win mechanic? Really, they have to take this assumption. But do they like that complexity?
I mean, for me personally, I think if it works as intended and doesn't create an unfair advantage, and players who can't monetize or don't want to monetize can still hold their own with the free stuff available, and there's nothing that's on the Sidegrade monetization side that is would be considered locked content behind a paywall, then I would say that everyone would be happy, because then you've got people who want to monetize, they've got the choice. People who want to play, without monetization, they can do that and not have not be underpowered or anything like that, which is fine as long as it, as like I say, as long as it's balanced. I have no problem with it necessarily, as long as it's balanced. But like I say, we'll have to wait and see what happens.
And it looks like even your cats agree, because while you were saying it, I heard your cat going meow. Is that your cat, or is it your?
It's downstairs.
Okay, but if your cats agree, then everybody is agree. So,
awesome.
PAX is coming. We'll do playtests at PAX for the media, and I'm even entertaining to see if we have time that we might even allow fans to play. It's a very, very niche and small mini experience. This is not Eternal Crusade, which they're going to play. It's a 3 against 3. Our game is not match based. It's not a MOBA. It's a massive combat RPG. But to just give the little feeling, emotional picture, micro picture of it, we'll have it access. It's 3 against 3. We'll have it on at PAX in Seattle next weekend. So you can, if your fans are there, that they should get into contact with us and see where we are. As I said, it's probably going to be the last day that we might. I'm not saying it's a guarantee. We might allow the fans to have fun with it.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming on once again, Miguel. It's always
My pleasure.
a pleasure. And as always, if you want to leave a question, leave it in the comment section below. Do like, subscribe, and I will see you next time.
Perfect. Thank you, Mike. Again.